This is Top of the Morning. I'm Steve Izant.
And I'm Shantae Campbell.
Shantae, we have a great show this morning, Geppi's Comic Museum.
I know, and I'm so excited because I'm so used to Scooby-Doo, Smurfs, and I can't believe it. I love it.
Well, we're located in beautiful downtown Baltimore. We're on the deck of the historic ship USS Constellation. You can hear a lot of things happening in the background. We've got some music on one side, we've got some people touring and some crew members on the other. But
yeah, it was some Boy Scouts that just came through.
Some Boy Scouts as well, but we're not going to stay here forever because we're going to Geppi's Comic Museum.
Yes.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Steve Geppi, and I'd like to welcome you to Geppi's Entertainment Museum. In 1974, I quit my job as a letter carrier at the U.S. Postal Service and opened a small comic book store in the basement of a TV repair shop. Little did I realize that from that humble beginning would grow this incredible pop culture collection you see here today. At the center of that collection is the comic character, the Brownies, Buster Brown, Mickey Mouse, the Lone Ranger, Superman, Barbie. These are just some of the characters who've made a tremendous impact on our individual childhoods while at the same time shaping our collective experience. As you wander through these halls, you will see the history of the country and our changing society reflected in those characters and the media through which they entertained us. Why are these characters so important to us? Perhaps it is their power to distract us. They've brought us relief in times of trouble, like the Great Depression and World War II. Today, they help us escape the pressure and stress of our ordinary, everyday lives. But there's more to it than that. These characters have played a large and largely unrecognized role in our education. Batman comic books helped me to learn to read when I was 5 years old. Thanks, big guy. That experience fostered a lifelong love of reading. I had dreamed of creating this museum for almost 30 years, but where to build it? When I toured Camden Station for the first time in 2003, I realized I had finally found the home these characters so richly deserved. Abraham Lincoln passed through this building 4 times. When Babe Ruth left his boyhood home of Baltimore to play for the Boston Red Sox, he took a train from this very station. Today, the first floor houses Sports Legends at Camden Yards, a museum which chronicles the history of Maryland sports. If there is a more appropriate place to display the history of pop culture in America, I can't think of it.
Well, welcome back. We're still on the deck of the USS Constellation. You can hear the music in the background because there's a lot happening in beautiful downtown Baltimore. But right now, I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Shantae, and our guest, Zack from Geppi's.
Geppi's Entertainment. How you doing?
Well, I'm just fine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For those that aren't familiar with Geppi's, how did Geppi's get started?
He got started he was originally a mailman. He wanted to go ahead and do something that he loved. So he opened his first comic store, Geppi's Comic World, and he did it in a basement of a TV repair shop. He started it with the comics that he had gotten from his people on his mail route, and what he ended up doing with that is it grew out of 3 stores. And then he saw an opening in the market where the comics used to come out on 2 days a week, on Tuesday and Thursday. With this being America and the ingenuity, he decided what better way to go ahead and make sure people can get their comics and get them at one time. He created the Diamond Comics Distributor to go ahead and be able to, to go ahead and get everything out to the public. So by doing that, it's become very successful. It is the leading way that most comic stores get their comics from.
In terms of location, it's right in the yard.
Yeah, it is on the 2nd floor of the train station. It's right above Sports Legends Museum. We're lucky to be there because it's a great place. It's a great historical building with everything that we have in it. It kind of fits with the medium we're trying to do, just kind of show off everything that is Baltimore and charm the city still. The city has.
I'm lucky enough to have been there several times. There's some very wonderful rooms reflecting different eras. Do you have a favorite room?
I'm a comic fan, so I'm always going to go with the comic book room first and foremost. It's one of the greatest things to go in there as a fan who's been reading for a while, and the first thing you see as soon as you go through the door is our first edition room. And the biggest pieces are, you see Action Comics #1, which is the first appearance of Superman, and Detective 27, which is the first appearance of Batman. Those are 2 seminal comics and 2 seminal characters that were created, and it's it's not a chance something you get to see every day, because they're very rare, they're very hard to find, let alone out in the open just for you to go ahead and look. That is by far my favorite room. Also, being a child of the 80s, I have a bit of a love for Star Wars, so our last room, the 80s room, which kind of encompasses Transformers and everything from that time frame, that has my love as well.
Now, being that this is like a 80s thing growing up, do you get a lot of the new generational kids into it?
Yeah, actually, what ends up happening is because everything is kind of coming around again with the Transformers movie, with G.I. Joe, and everything is kind of re-evolving and coming back around. The kids come in and they see what their parents played with. At this point in time, a lot of them have younger kids that are just getting into this. They're just sitting up and watching Cartoon Network or Hub or whatever the channels are that have the new shows, the new Transformers, the new G.I. Joe. And they see this is what they grew up with, this is what we had to play with. And it's very cool to see them get excited when they see characters and they recognize them in a different form.
Well, Zach, I think some of our older viewers might say, well, is there anything there for me?
There is. There's a lot of things there for people. One of the things I get a lot of people talking about when they're going through is in the 70s room, when they go through and we see the Batman, the old TV show. We focus heavily on Batman in our 70s room, especially. We have the head from the original show. They used to flip up and hit the button to go ahead and have the pole show up. They have the red phone that the commissioner would call Batman and Robin on. They have, as you go into our TV room, there's a big thing about Howie Doody, which is one of the seminal TV characters when TV first started. And then when you go back even further in our Heroes Unite room, you have things like you have old Mickey Mouse marionettes. You have different posters and promotional things from Snow White, one of the first animated movies to have a standalone audio recording. You have pictures of Popeye, and you have actually old Popeye cookies that are about 70 or 80 years old that are actually in very good shape, which is a frightening thought.
Cookies!
Cookies! Cookies! Cookies! We cover everything.
You cover. Not quite as fresh as they used to be, but...
No. We always say that if someone is ever willing to go ahead and take one, we'd be willing to give them to you as long as you sign a release form.
Interesting, interesting. Well, now, I'm also seeing some things, though, from, like, literally the 30s and the 40s and 50s there.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the Snow White and the Mickey Mouse stuff, especially from the beginning of Disney, where you have a lot of that in the Heroes Unite. We go back even further where we talk about the Yellow Kid, who was a pop culture way to go ahead and try and sell products to everyone. You have the Brownies, as well as Buster Brown, and even Gertie the Dinosaur, my personal favorite as far as the older stuff goes. I love the story of Gertie the Dinosaur, that a young Walt Disney saw the man who had created him interacting with this medium this first time he'd seen animation, and the guy would go and Gertie would be on the screen, he would toss a ball, Gertie would catch it, Gertie would lean down, he would pet him. And there's an old wives' tale that Disney saw this as a young kid, and that's what got him into animation. So you get a real sense of everything pop culture from the last 200 plus years.
Yeah, I noticed the shirt you have on.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty cool because in like the stores in Old Navy and Walmart, I noticed that they're bringing a lot of those collectibles back.
It's one of those things where with the way that the Marvel movies and Batman and Superman have kind of transcended the medium of comics and become bigger pop culture icons, it's great that they've gone ahead and shirts like this are available, and it's one of the best times, as I say, to be a geek, because there was a time when you had to go ahead and keep it to yourself. If you wore a Batman shirt, you were kind of ostracized. Now, it's weird not to see a Batman shirt out on the harbor as you're going to a ball game. It's cool that these characters that a lot of people for a while have been maligned for are now these centerpieces of blockbuster movies and blockbuster studios, as well as great ways for kids to go ahead and learn the moral compass. There's a lot of people that learn their moral compass from Captain America. They learned what was right and what was wrong. Same thing with Batman. They learned that you always go ahead and do whatever you can to save everyone. It's cool that these characters are a part of our culture now and have become very Paul Bunyan-esque, very our own fables of what we want people to be, what the best of humanity can be.
Well, folks, as you can hear, we're on the historic ship, the USS Constellation. There's a lot of things going on. There's music in the background. This is a working deck here, so we have crew members. We have a gangplank that seems to be making a lot of noise. So just keep that in mind for the background. But let's get back to Geppi's because there's some interesting things going on.
Yes. Right now, we are getting ready to go ahead and launch a color forms exhibit. every few months we have a special exhibit where we'll go ahead and put something that is not focused on so much in the museum, something special, something different. At the end of this month in June, we're going to go ahead and set up what's known as color forms. For those of you who haven't present, basically they were a way to go ahead and set up fronts for kids to go ahead and play, kind of create and let your imagination run wild with characters and things you know and love. We're showing that off because as the generations get further and further into technology, video games and everything like that, you tend to lose that. You lose that imagination that came with playing as a kid in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Is this, let's call it, physically interactive type of thing, or
it's
how
more,
does it exactly work?
What they're going to do is it's just going to kind of display, and it gives the older generation a chance to show off to their kids and grandkids. This is what I played with. This is what I did, and hopefully it gives them a chance to go, I would like to try something like that, and gets them to be a little more creative and imaginative as they're going around and playing with their friends, and they can share it with them.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see my daughter really into like the Smurfs and Scooby-Doo. It's like these are things that I grew up with, and explaining the stuff to my son, he's all into it. G.I. Joe, you know, those type of things.
My friend's child, Connor, he is a huge superhero fan, and he's got it from things like Superhero Squad and Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Spider-Man. He's seen the cartoons, and he's gotten into it, and it's awesome as someone who has been into it for a while, that's gotten into that, enjoys all that, to be able to share it with someone. I think that's the greatest thing about pop culture right now, is that there's always kind of this rotating thing. That's why I'm sad when I see certain characters kind of die out, like Popeye's one of them. He's not really as big a figure anymore, and it's sad because it's one of the most entertaining things you can show.
Well, and the sales of spinach has probably gone down as well, so. All right, well, we've got more coming up on Geppi's. We're going to take a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
I've been called Baltimore's biggest cheerleader. Guilty as charged. Heck, I even bought the City magazine. I was born and raised in Little Italy, an ethnic neighborhood just across the Inner Harbor from here. I love this city and all of its spectacular attractions. From the National Aquarium and the Science Center, to the Walters Art Gallery and Museum of African American History and Culture, to the restaurants of Fells Point and Little Italy, Baltimore has something for everyone. I urge you to visit all of those places and experience everything this magnificent city has to offer. But first, I'd like you to take a trip with me in my time machine to discover or revisit all the wonderful characters, friends I call them, that have shaped our popular culture. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I had that when I was a kid. I do it all the time.
Welcome back to the USS Constellation. We're here with Zack, talking about the Geppi.
Yes, the Geppi's Entertainment Museum.
What is going on as far as with the gift shop?
Well, I've recently been hired on as the new retail manager at the store, and as I've mentioned before, I come from a comic background. I'm a huge comic fan. I've worked in a bunch of local shops in the area, from Hackers Inc. Man Cave, Ellicott City, and Canton Games, actually, right here in Canton. And I'm a fan. The first time I went to the museum, I loved everything about it, but the one thing I noticed in the gift shop was that it was very hospital gift shop-esque, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I felt like it's missing something. The best thing about being in a comic shop, whether you work there or you're a fan, is when you can go in there and interact with people there. You can talk about what happened in this issue with Spider-Man, what happened with Daredevil, why Nightwing's running around doing what he's doing, and be able to have those talks about what's going on. And the first thing I felt out of the museum was I wanted to talk to somebody about everything I saw there. So with me just being hired on, we're in the process of changing it from, it used to be flashbacks to now it's gone back to Geppi's Comic World. We want to make it more of that comic shop feel, that ability to go ahead and be there and just talk, just, for lack of a better term, fanboy out, geek out, to be able to be like, can you believe they had that first appearance of Superman, that first appearance of Spider-Man? Did you see the Return of the Jedi poster in there? It's it's a rare poster. What did you think of all the toys they had in there? It's a way to go ahead and get people involved in the museum and not have it be as passive, because pop culture is not passive. the best thing about anything pop culture is sitting around with your friends talking about it.
So is this going to be something interactive, or is there going to be an individual there that has the depth of knowledge that you do, for example? Are you going to be on the floor all the time?
I am going to be on the floor as much as I can. We've hired some new people that are very good, and as I want to say fanboyish as myself, that they enjoy what's there, they enjoy the mediums that we're going to talk about. The other thing we're doing is we're bringing comics back to the shop. We're making it, again, that feeling of going into the comic shop and talking to your friends and being part of that social environment. So we're getting new trades in. We're going to go ahead in September. We're starting new issues for the first time. We're going to also offer a subscription service where if you want to get your comics in our museum, you can come in every Wednesday, pick up your books, talk to whoever's behind the counter about what's going on in the books. If you want to pick up something that you're not sure of, talk to them about what's good, what's not, and just have that experience, that social thing that everyone kind of craves.
Now, I did notice that they have a new issue where there's sort of a man
yes.
comic book going now. Is it you guys also going with the new trends of the new age, or are you guys keeping it from the history part?
The history part of it is great, but to be honest, what makes comics great is the way it evolves, the way they tell stories now, and we are going to go ahead and focus on everything. It would be too myopic just to focus on one thing when we have so much available to us. And what you're talking about, both companies are in the process of doing this thing where they're being social about it. They're showing our world as it is. In Astonishing X-Men, you have North Star and his boyfriend finally getting married. They've been together in comics for years, and now we see a wedding going on. You have in Earth 2 in DC, you see a character that has been an established character for years. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, he is now gay, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great to go ahead and see how they can tell these stories with these characters. That's what's great about comics and the medium of pop culture in general.
So they're really kind of updating them to reflect what's going on in society.
Exactly. They want to go ahead and show everyone that the people that we're reading, they have the same problems as us, to go ahead and make them more human and also make us even more involved in these characters.
Well, I'm just hoping you can do something with Popeye.
I love the story of Popeye from the creator of Popeye, where he actually saw a gentleman who looks exactly like Popeye except for the over-exaggerated forearms, and he was at a bar, and they went ahead and he was outside, and the sailor, the gentleman who looked like Popeye, was surrounded by 4 Bluto types, and he fought all 4 of them off. And I love that he created a character out of seeing that thing, and that's a tough sailor. It'd be cool to go ahead and have him as a way to go ahead and just show that off.
Well, it sounds like everybody's making a comeback after a few decades, so maybe we can bring it back.
I'm going to go ahead and personally just start pushing Popeye. That's going to be my goal.
Fair enough. Well, while you think about how you're going to push Popeye, we're going to have to take a break, so we'll be right back. Please stay with us. welcome back. We're here with our guest Zack from Geppi's. We also have a lot of Boy Scouts that have just come on deck here at the Constellation. Shantae?
Oh, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the?
Well, the main thing I want to talk about it as we're getting ready to wrap up is I think that I just want to get the word out there, because I've lived in Baltimore for 6 years. I'm a transplant. I'm not from here. And I had never heard about the museum until I went into the interview. I went into the interview and I saw this just everything that being a fan of movies and TV and comics and everything that is pop culture. I didn't understand why it's something that's not a bigger part, why it's not mentioned more in your local comic stores, or even when you go to Hot Topic or any of the other pop culture stores. I think the thing that I want to just say is that it's a great experience. It's cheap for the family. It's $10 on a normal day. Thursday is our half price day, where it's half price for adults $5, and it's a great way to go ahead and spend a couple hours with your family to go and just see everything that exists and just kind of take it all in and show people and show kids pop by and show kids how do you do and show kids this is how everything's evolved. It wasn't always Xbox and PlayStation. There was more to it than just sitting at home.
Something you can definitely share with your kids.
Exactly.
Well, it does sound great. Yeah, just think about this. Us adults, we can relive our childhood and we can entertain our children at the same time.
All right, Zack. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well,
I know you're what? Was it fanboy?
Yeah, I've monikered myself because every good comic store owner has a little bit of that. I want to be. I'm fanboy in charge. I've been a fan for my entire life. I didn't start reading comics and really getting involved in the lore and the mythology until about 4 years ago, where I found a shop at Perry Hall Supervillains Incorporated. Unfortunately, the owner has passed away and the store's closed, but he was the one that kind of got me into it. I'd always picked up trades or things that go to Barnes & Noble or any of the local bookstores and pick them up and just read them at my leisure. He was the one that got me into issues and started getting me in the lore, and seeing what he did and how he ran his store and what he got to do really got me excited, because I was in a point in my life where I wasn't happy, and seeing that, I started working there. I started getting involved with his customers and getting involved with everything that comes with it, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the idea of the community that you can build in a store, and that's kind of where I started, because you have to find something that you're going to love, and that was the one thing that spoke to me. Is like, okay, I can be around people, I can talk to people, I can share a passion of mine, and not just that, you can bring people in and be friends with them. And because of that store, I've made a whole bunch of good friends, and it's actually changed the way I felt about this city. When I first moved here, I was not a fan of it. I'm from West Virginia. I'm not used to a big city setting. Getting in that sense of community really kind of opened everything up to where I love this city. I want to show this city off for the awesome stuff that's around here. The entire experience, whether it be the Orioles, or the museum, or even just the harbor itself, I want to show off everything that Baltimore has.
Now, do you do any type of writing on comics?
Unfortunately not. You know, that they say those who can't create own a comic store. So, everyone has they always want to write the great American graphic novel, but no, I'm not involved in any comics. I have very limited artistic. In fact, if you ask me to draw a stick figure right now, it could come out horrible.
Well, maybe you could work on the story side. Team up with an illustrator.
Exactly. That's not a bad idea. Everyone has that one story in them.
There's one story.
Mm-hmm. Everyone has
waiting to get out. We heard a little bit about your history.
Yeah.
What about some long-term plans?
Long-term plans right now are really whenever, and this is from working in stores, whenever someone gets in a store and they get in a position they love, my long-term plan is there. It's to go ahead and make that store everything it can be. That's really my goal. I mean, everyone who works in comics would love to eventually own their own shop. A lot of creators own their own shops. And that's always a goal that everyone has, but I'm blessed right now that I get to own my own shop and take care of everything and do everything a shop owner does, while also pushing the museum and being a part of something more than just my own shop, and something more than just, oh, I'm making money. I want to get some good sharing Baltimore.
Do you have any kids or younger cousins that look up to you now?
I do have my nephew who's 18. He's just out of high school. He's starting to figure out what he wants to do when he wants to go to school. And the one thing that this opportunity and everything that I've done has shown him is that you can do anything as long as you work. I made no money working in the shops I did. Whenever you first get into a store, and even when you own a store, there's no money to be made. There's always a lot of grinding and a lot of hustling you have to do. to get people in your store, to get people to see that you're actually going to be there for a while, to get people just excited about your brand and everything that's there. So I've worked in stores, there's no money in it, but the sense of the fulfillment you have is unmatched, and he's seeing that. He's seeing that even though I've come home tired, there's been days where I haven't slept because I've had to work at a store and then go to my normal job. He's seen that, but he's also seen the fulfillment and the joy that I've had from being around people. And I think that's the best thing, is he's now going, I don't just want to go get a job. I don't want to go to school to do something that is going to make me a lot of money. I want to be happy, because at the end of the day, being happy is more important than all the money in the world.
We've heard about Geppi's website, but if people want to ask you a question directly, how could they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is going to be through email. I do a lot of emailing, and that I've kind of become involved as far as the tech boom is. I use my phone a lot and getting involved with that. The best way is going to be at my work email, wzack, and that's WZACH @jeppismuseum.com. Feel free to answer me. Send any question, I will answer you. I'll be happy to go ahead and set up a time if you want to come in and talk about a pull list, if you want to suggest titles for the store. I'm always up to talk about the medium that I love and that I've gotten into.
Sounds great for contact. We're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back. Please stay with Zack. If people want to get in contact or find Geppi, how do they do that?
You can always go to our website, JeppisEntertainmentMuseum.com. It has our address as well as our phone number and all other information about it. Also, you can always go through Diamond Comics website. There's a link on there for us as well. It's a way to go ahead and just interact with us. We have a Facebook as well as a Twitter. We're trying to use social media to get the word out there and spread the word about our museum. That's what we're trying to do.
Let's go back to that website address one more time, and if you would spell Geppi's for our viewers.
It is GEPPIS, JeppisEntertainmentMuseum.com.
Great entertainment, both young and old. I think that's our show. It's top of the morning. I'm Steve Izant.
I'm Shantae Campbell.
We're here with Zack from Geppi's. Thanks for watching.